Skin by Kim has been a fairly quiet brand since launch, releasing extremely few new products since their rebrand from KKW in 2021. So, now that they've launched makeup today as a brand extension, I wanted to take the time to analyze that from a business and retailing perspective to answer some important questions. Will this brand extension grow the brand? Is this just a quick money grab? And most importantly, what does this tell us about the direction of cosmetic retailing? Until today, Skin has been far quieter than most celebrity brands, including of course most of the Kardashian brands, which in a previous analysis video I said made it appear that the brand was in a bit of a limbo. Specifically, that the products themselves haven't really had a differentiator. The packaging isn't unique, the product is expensive but not particularly luxurious, and they avoid more traditional forms of celebrity marketing. However, something I pointed out in this brand analysis video is that all of that might be on purpose, for one very specific reason: loyalty. For literally decades, though most predominantly in the last decade or two, the predominant idea in beauty was to use hype to create buzz on which to then sell a whole bunch of low to average quality limited edition or flash in the pan popular products at a mid-range price point for the benefits of a large profit margin. With the most obvious example of this being Kylie Cosmetics, but also including this brand in a previous iteration, KKW. This model created a high sales volume driven from hype or FOMO that, while driving wonderful profits for brands, meant that there was a lot of consumer fatigue, a lack of consumer trust, and an absence of a brand with whom customers could repeatedly and endlessly return for the same products. Over time, this created a real issue in cosmetics, a gap in the market, if you will, for a brand that is genuinely stable, reliable, and worthy of long-term loyalty. It's more like a need-based product offering and strategy instead of a hype-based strategy. I honestly wasn't sure this was Skin's strategy when I made the original brand analysis video. I did say it was possible, but I wasn't sure because it is so unusual, especially for a celebrity brand, which are nearly always synonymous with the idea of cash grabs. But with that said, now that we have eyes on the new makeup product expansion that is releasing today, I'm all but certain this has been the goal of Skin. In order to understand why this makes sense for Skin, let's first discuss what a brand extension is so that we can discuss that in relation to Skin. So this is the product lifecycle chart. It's a long established figure in business and retailing that by the end of the 1950s had already been segmented into 4 phases: birth, growth, maturity, and decline. While our focus in this Skin by Kim video comes about 7 or 8 years later, when the ability to recover from the decline stage in the graph was added as a 5th stage that they called recycle, but is now known as a product extender. This brings us to Skin by Kim, who in that previous video I discussed why, in an attempt to differentiate themselves from Kylie Cosmetics and KKW, they put in so much effort into rebranding that by the time they got to release Skin, it already felt a bit dated, a bit too similar to the other minimalism-themed brands on the market, and through the purposeful rejection of shock marketing, also lacked a hook to bring in a changed demographic. As a result, it was apparent Skin was either in the growth stage, purposefully growing slowly, establishing as an attempt to create this idea of reliability, or it was in the decline stage post the media attention it garnered in its initial launch. And it was very clear that they knew they weren't in that maturity stage as well, especially after their first attempt at a brand extender in their Skin homeware range that kind of appeared to have flopped, but in truth we don't have information on whether it sold well or not, so we cannot truly know. So, for this reason, they had a few options. If they were in decline, they could quietly wind down the brand if it got that bad. Again, if it was in decline, they could rebrand, which is a brand extension strategy in itself, a very good one, or the cheapest of the 3 options and the only one good for both stages, they could expand their product range as an increase in the world building of the brand. Which brings us to 3 questions I'll aim to answer in this video. 1. Why makeup? 2. Does it remedy any of the issues that the brand had previously? And 3, does this genuinely extend the brand? Firstly, let's start with why makeup, which is a relatively easy question to answer because makeup is the product category closest to the skincare products that they were already producing. The customer base is largely the same, so it just cuts down on marketing costs, and because it helps slowly transition that customer into a deeper sense of loyalty, perhaps that could edge Skin towards being a lifestyle brand in the future, something they seemingly wanted if the home goods is to be analysed in that sense as well. Also, because Kim has a history past with makeup brands like Chrome in 2012 that she owned with her sisters Kourtney and Khloe, Kardashian Beauty in 2012 that, as we talked about in the aforementioned previous video, was trademarked under Kim's company, and in 2017 with KKW, obviously. So it works well for both her personal branding and for Skin as its own brand, even if it was void of Kim. In short, it was by far the most obvious product expansion that the brand could have, though it's obvious they were being careful about it, releasing a limited product selection. Which brings us on to, does it remedy any of the issues that the brand had previously? Which, as mentioned, were the need to differentiate themselves from Kylie Cosmetics and KKW, that it's too similar to other minimalism-themed brands on the market, and that it lacked a hook. And the answer to this is no, not especially. Skin was already quite well differentiated from Kylie Cosmetics and KKW because of its higher price point and purposeful absence of product releases, both aspects chosen purposefully to make the brand look more like an investment product than one of hype. I believe the term I used in the brand analysis video was reliable branding, and it was because of this goal that we cannot judge the success on quantity of searches by Google or even by sales considering how young the brand is, and because the goal of a reliable brand is to build a lifelong customer base, not just a customer that wants to dip in and out as per hype. So, while I am saying no to solving the problems that they had, I say it as a positive, because it's exactly this lack of hype, buzz, and short-term attention that provides the company the achieved reliability or dependability angle. Though that, of course, comes with the obvious factor that any benefit from this scheme will be slow to reveal its positive effect because it's purposefully not a quick fix solution, which could be exactly the differentiator that they needed from other celebrity brands. The only real issue that I see with a makeup launch, however, is the packaging, which has never been particularly unique. It's well branded to Kim Kardashian's personal brand for sure, and I think Kanye or Ye West did a phenomenal job at creating the branding for the team back on inception. But while this was an area that really did need a fix, it needed that differentiator, it's still missing from this release. Packaging-wise, aside from perhaps the cement color, it really does look like I can just go and pick this up from another minimalist packaged brand. I know all of the different products that are on the screen now are different products, but honestly, they could all be from the same brand, let's be honest. However, I would also like to point out that while I do say that, I want to acknowledge that with an attempt to be a reliable brand, that does limit them to what kind of packaging they can create, because their main goal would be consistency, not innovation. The packaging, though bland, because it's well branded, does help perpetuate this idea that the brand is timeless and reliable. So it's a tricky line. Is it differentiated from other makeup brands? Not especially, no. But is it very well branded for who Skin is and help them perpetuate the idea that they are a reliable brand? 100% yes. Which brings me on to the final question of how does this help extend the brand and does it do it successfully? To look at this, I ran an analysis using Capfra's 1986 Identity Prism because it's so good at analysing content messaging and identifying points of illusory weakness. And it seems that from the perspective of creating a brand world, something fundamental with the ever-growing B2C focus from brands, this is really just a fantastic addition to the product offering without in any way cheapening or lessening the original brand ethos. Also, as another point, I'm not sure if it was intentional, but the timing of this expansion has been phenomenal, with the public attention beginning to shift more onto makeup instead of skincare because of the Sephora youth drama, which, despite it probably being unintentional, for Skin has a huge effect. You see, Skin, with its skincare range, was not producing products that were new. Their 9-step skincare, in fact, was quite dated by the time it debuted in 2021. And much like this, the idea of a nude eyeshadow palette and nude lips is far from new, evidencing that primarily the brand is leaning on a perceived reliable standpoint, almost purposefully showing that they aren't trend-based while benefiting off of being an early adopter of changing consumer demands. Though, while I do say this, I do want to note that I'm not saying that it is a luxury product here. Because it has a mid-price point, it's not exclusionary, although it does give that illusory luxury feeling because it's well-branded and on-trend, but it's still very accessible. It's not actually a luxury product, even though it feels like one. In short, except perhaps for not having to pay for the luxury feeling, they took the entire brand ethos and applied it directly and extremely successfully to a new product category. And this goes through into the actual product in itself, not just the packaging too. I'm referring obviously to the exclusive use of neutral tones in the lip colors, lip pencils, and eyeshadow palette, all of which conceivably can never go out of style. Of course they will, as will the packaging, because this focus on neutrals is a trend and it too will come to an end. But the idea of this trend is timelessness. So it has kind of the same effect as something that is truly timeless, even if it isn't, which does play very well into the brand ethos. As a result, though all of this is reliant on whether the product is actually good quality, something I cannot advise on, I have no idea about the product itself, from a retailing perspective, this is phenomenal branding as a brand extender for Skin. And we haven't even discussed the promotion or the announcement of the line either, which went semi-viral last week due to the Kim Kardashians "I'm Kim Kardashian, of course I have blah blah blah" video, which hopped on a trendy video idea, gave us something surprising that was worth talking about in the video, i.e. the drop of the makeup line, and caused a buzz specifically without the risk of drama or without using shock marketing, both of which would be against the reliable ethos of the brand. And of course, except Patrick Starr, I don't think they've had an influencer marketing scheme for the same reason. An influencer marketing scheme would work against that unchanging, dependable brand image for which creating hype would almost be counterintuitive, though perhaps I will be proved wrong with this one when the official release actually happens. As a whole, this reliability angle that we're seeing from Skin, and from Skims as well, from a retailing perspective, is quite a long untapped market. As I stated in the beginning of the video, we have rarely seen this angle from a new brand, perhaps even since the 90s when consumerism sped up to the nth degree and everything became quick and disposable, so that even those who had dependable products in the past changed for low margins and quick profits. So for our consumer market currently, Skin has now evidenced that it has a pretty novel and true differentiator in the brand's reliability and sustainability. But does this mean that it will be a guaranteed success? No, absolutely not. But sometimes it's great to see something attempted in a consumer environment that seems all but hostile to these sorts of brands. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Check out my fashion channel Understitch for more videos like this one, but about fashion brands. And a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon, some of whose names are on the screen now.